Welcome to the YouTube channel My Story, with stories that touch your heart. The story I want to tell today is called The Brother's Heartbreaking Reaction to His Sibling Becoming Pope. Daniel sat by the window, looking out at the dusk settling over the little village where he had spent most of his life. The chirping of crickets was the only sound breaking the heavy silence around him. His old wooden chair creaked slightly as he shifted his weight, eyes never leaving the peaceful view. The sky was painted with hues of orange and pink, yet his mind was far from the tranquility of the evening. His heart was still racing. Only hours earlier he had received a letter, one that would change his life, his family's life, and the world's life forever. The letter was from the Vatican. His brother, Luca, had been elected as the new pope. His mind struggled to process it. A boy from their little village, one who had grown up sharing dreams of a simple life, was now the leader of millions. He had watched Luca grow up, a quiet, kind soul who always seemed destined for something greater, even when he himself hadn't understood what that meant. Their family had always been close-knit, and Daniel had been Luca's protector, his confidant, the one who had stood by him through every trial and triumph. And now, Daniel was being asked to accept that the brother he knew and loved would soon be known by the world as His Holiness. The reality of it all didn't hit Daniel immediately. At first, there was a strange, disbelieving calm as he read the letter, the words slowly sinking in. His brother, his Luca, had answered a calling so great that it had pulled him away from their simple life, away from the shared moments, the laughter, the evenings spent by the fire, and the quiet walks through the village. It wasn't the grandeur of the papacy that tugged at Daniel's heart, nor was it the thought of his brother sitting upon the chair of St. Peter. No, it was the realization that their bond, the unspoken connection they had shared for decades, was now in jeopardy. That sacred, quiet space that was only theirs, the brotherhood that had shaped them both, was about to change forever. Luca had always been different. Of course, he had known from a young age that his path lay in the church, even when Daniel couldn't quite understand it. Their parents had always supported Luca's calling, though it wasn't an easy thing to understand. They were simple people. They worked the land, tended to their animals, and lived as the generations before them had lived. They were content. But Luca, ever the dreamer, had felt the pull of something greater. As a boy, he had told Daniel stories of God's will, of how he was being called to serve. Daniel, though skeptical, had never doubted his brother's sincerity. But even as he watched Luca grow into this strong, faithful man, he had hoped, no, he had prayed, that his brother's love for family and home would keep him close, that the bond between them would never be severed by a life so far away. But now that day had come. Sitting in the quiet of his room, Daniel held the letter in his hands, reading the words again. This time, they hit harder. His chest tightened as tears welled in his eyes. He didn't know why he was crying. Was it pride? Was it grief? Both. It was as though his heart couldn't hold the weight of it. His brother was about to become someone who could never again sit next to him by the fire or share a drink under the stars. The papacy would keep him far from this place. From their shared history, Daniel remembered a moment, just a few weeks before the election, when Luca had visited home for what was supposed to be a short break. They sat on the porch, the soft rustle of the trees filling the air, the sun setting behind them. Luca had smiled at him then, a little distant, but still Luca, the brother he had known for so many years. "Are you happy?" Daniel had asked, knowing what was coming. Luca had turned his eyes towards the horizon, his gaze soft, almost searching. "I'm at peace, Daniel. but I feel like there's a greater purpose calling me. I know it's not going to be easy for you. For us." Daniel had nodded, not fully understanding what his brother meant, but trusting him nonetheless. He had heard those words before, but today, as he sat with the letter in his hands, they rang in his ears with a painful finality: the papacy. A life of service that would separate them, a life of responsibility that would take Luca to faraway places, into the heart of the church, into a role that no longer allowed for the simplicity of brotherhood, for the quiet conversations they used to share about nothing and everything. The sound of the front door creaking open broke Daniel's reverie. His mother's soft voice reached him from the hallway. "Daniel, is everything all right?" He didn't answer right away. He didn't want his mother to see him like this. He didn't want her to see his tears, to witness his brokenness. But she must have sensed it, for she appeared in the doorway a moment later, her face filled with concern. "Come, sit with me," she said, gently guiding him to the couch. He obeyed. Though his heart still ached, his mother, wise and understanding, sat beside him, her hand resting on his shoulder. "You've received the letter, haven't you?" He nodded. The words felt heavy as they left his mouth. "He's been elected. Luca, he's the Pope now." His mother's eyes softened, and she squeezed his shoulder. "I know, my dear. We always knew he was meant for something special, didn't we?" Daniel swallowed, trying to find the right words, but they eluded him. The emotions were too much. His mother was right. Luca was destined for greatness, and he had followed his calling. But that didn't make the loss any easier. The silence hung between them for a moment before Daniel spoke again, his voice thick with emotion. "I'll miss him, Mom. I'll miss my brother." She didn't respond at first. She simply held him, her presence a quiet strength. Then she whispered, "The heart never forgets. No matter where he goes, no matter the distance, your bond will remain. And one day, when the time is right, he'll return to you." Daniel didn't know how long he sat there, lost in thought, listening to the steady ticking of the clock in the room. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Daniel stood at the window again, looking out over the familiar landscape. The air was cool, the night creeping in. The world seemed to move on, but he stood still, contemplating the changes that were about to take place. Somewhere far away, Luca would be standing before the world, wearing the robes of the papacy, his voice echoing through the halls of St. Peter's. But in Daniel's heart, it would always be his brother, his Luca, the young boy who had dreamed of serving, the young man who had once shared the quiet joys of their small village life. And that bond, despite the vast oceans and many miles that would soon separate them, would never be broken. With a heavy heart, Daniel whispered into the evening air, "I'm proud of you, Luca, but I'll miss you." And though the world would know his brother as a leader, to Daniel he would always be his brother, the one he loved and would forever carry in his heart.